Hey guys, you're watching Let's Talk About Prepping. I'm Tyler, your host, and in this video, I'm going to share the Paracord donut as used as a belt and as a training weapon and potentially in a pinch as a real weapon. Paracord is very handy to have around, and it can be handy in more forms than just as loose cordage, although I think it's really good to have at least 30, preferably 50, preferably 100 feet on you or nearby because you just never know when you're going to need some cordage of a good length. But I do like to store it in a woven form, and I like the paracord donut because it really compacts your paracord down tightly. And as I'm going to show in the instructional part of this video, if you do it real tight, it gets quite hard. In fact, hard enough to hurt a person. And what's really handy about this is you have your live end tucked away, but once you have brought that through this little loop here, you can just simply pull on it and it acts as a ripcord to unravel this donut to give you exactly as much as you need. Then you can sort of loop it back through and you have a nice little loop to do things with, as I'm going to show you right now. So the paracord can be pretty handy as a belt. All you do is you weave your live end through. Now before we get going, I'll show you. I have a knot tied a few inches from the donut itself for the purpose of being a belt. So after having woven it all through, send it through the loop of your donut, position it like a belt buckle. I'm going to position it opposite my pistol so that I'm nice and symmetrical there. And at this point, I'm going to take both loops of my live end and stick them under my holster clip. And then feed it back through all of my loops. If I can. Alright, so here we are back at the knot. I'm going to go ahead and just tie a simple knot there that I can easily release if I so choose. And there we have it. Paracord belt works pretty nicely. I can pull that loop there. And have it loose. Now, weapons like this are not very handy in most situations, but it's better to have something rather than nothing. And it's the kind of thing that can be pretty handy in a few different situations, mostly as a snare for hands and things like that. But it can be handy just to have a little something hard to hit people with. That's something I'm going to talk about in another video, why belts can be decent weapons. And this is actually something that I just wanted to get back tied up from when I had used it out in the woods in a past video, so that I can share it as a training option for using flails and manriki or different objects like that as weapons. So I hope that was interesting. Stay tuned for the instructional video next where I share how to make one of these. And for more from Let's Talk About Prepping, stay safe out there, everyone. All right, so here we have my paracord donut, and I'm going to share how to put one of these together from raw paracord. So you go ahead and get your live end of paracord and wrap it around your fingers a few times to get your base ring going. Now, depending on how long your original line is, you need this to be 3 or 4 fingers, and you need to compare that to the size of my hand. So if you have a small hand, it might need to be even bigger. So the finished ring should be a few inches across, and you'll need to practice this a few times, and you might end up unraveling a few rings even after quite a bit of work because you weren't able to get as much paracord into the ring before it cinched up and became too tight to weave more into it. Because as you weave,
the knots fill out the inside of the ring as well as the outside. So this is really a learning curve. It's the kind of thing that you might make a few and completely unravel them, and in some people's eyes, waste hours worth of work. But it's really just something that you're going to practice if you want to get to the point where you're making a really tight and good looking paracord donut. So basically, as you can see, you're just drawing a loop through your original ring and then drawing another loop through that loop and tightening them up to create a weave that goes back and forth across the ring, just sort of looping one through the next one and drawing them tight. That's just sort of a continuous and repetitive process. But if you get used to it and get your loops really tight and get each progressive bunch tighter and closer to the next one, and in a sort of progressive knuckle pattern, it ends up looking pretty cool and being a very tight little weave that not only makes your paracord store into a much smaller volume, but it also makes it harder and denser as you go, making it a pretty nice little tool or even a weapon if used properly. Once you've been practicing quite a bit and really gotten the pattern down, you'll start being able to really cinch the paracord down at every step of the way. And this might sometimes involve reworking a couple of weaves, but as you get going, you can really get the pattern down to where each knuckle is very tight up against the next knuckle, and each layer of the donut compacts the layers underneath it to the point where it's a very hard, dense little snarl of paracord. It can be a little tough on the fingers, but I've often done this kind of work, so I'm sort of used to that. But if you really get it down, it can be pretty enjoyable. I just do it listening to music, and it comes out with a pretty nice little product. It's a nice way to pass some time if you have some free time, but you still want to be a little productive with it. It's sort of, as many people have said before, the prepper's version of crochet. I really like it, and it's just a pretty handy little thing. Anyways, stay tuned for more for Let's Talk About Prepping. Hope that was interesting. Hope you're all well, and everybody stay safe out there.